It's Monday, December 30th, 1985, and this is Eyewitness News at 5:30. Good evening, everyone. I'm Dave Kaler. Dana Tyler has the night off, and I hope you had a good weekend and you're getting ready to ring out the old and ring in the new year. In tonight's news, that hostage situation in Newport, Kentucky, just across the river from Cincinnati, is over. But not before the man holding the hostages was shot by a state police sharpshooter. We'll have more on that story from Bill McGowan.
SWAT team members brought the hostage crisis to a close some 30 hours after it began. 20-year-old Dennis Lucas sees two teenage brothers early Sunday morning in Newport, Kentucky, just across the Ohio River from Cincinnati. He kept police at bay with at least two guns and started making threats.
Okay, do not give me my demands. You can say this over the radio. I'm going to tie these two young boys down to the bed, and I'm going to pour gas. I got 5 gallons of gas. I'm going to pour gas all over them and burn them up.
Lucas demanded that authorities give him $50,000 and 3 plane tickets to England for himself and his two hostages. Lucas called up a Cincinnati radio station Sunday night and blamed a prison stay and drugs for his crime spree. Lucas got out of prison just a month and a half ago after serving time for 2 theft convictions. The ex-convict also told the radio station that he was responsible for the murder of 2 other teenage boys. He gave directions to where he allegedly dumped the bodies. A search turned up the corpse of 15-year-old Jimmy Kane. Police are still looking for the second body. Monday morning, police made their move. First, they evacuated a family that had been trapped in the apartment above the one where the hostages were being held. Then, officers armed with rifles began closing in on the building.
We removed Bobby Wardlow, age 14, from the first floor. Larkin Wardlow, age 16, remained as a hostage on the first floor, handcuffed to the bed. The situation at that time quickly deteriorated, and due to the fact that Larkin's life was in immediate danger, it was necessary to take the life of Dennis Lucas.
Robert and Larkin Wardlow were unharmed. Their captor, Dennis Lucas, was killed by a police bullet. Bill McGowan, Headline News.
Now here are some of the other stories making headlines around Central Ohio on this Monday. A Columbus man from the Army's 101st Airborne Division was laid to rest today. 21-year-old Private First Class Walter Daniels was among the 248 soldiers killed when that chartered jet crashed in Newfoundland on December the 12th. Services were held at the Southeast Christian Church here in Columbus. A new system at the Franklin County Welfare Office could shorten those long lines at the beginning of every month for food stamps. Instead of sending all of the food stamp cards out at once, the Welfare Office will stagger the mailing. There is also a plan to open private distribution centers for food stamps. M.D. Portman was in City Council chambers early today. He was sworn in for another term on the Columbus City Council. Cynthia Cecil and Ben Espy were also sworn in this afternoon. Well, it looks as though COTA is going to be its own insurance company after all. When the bus company's old insurance company went out of business, COTA was forced to find a new deal. Well, it couldn't do that, so it's insuring itself for the first $1 million in liability coverage. Another company is picking it up from there to $25 million in total coverage, but the deal only covers accidents involving buses. COTA has to find another way to cover garage mechanics and others not on the road. Well, 2 people were treated for minor injuries, then released from Mount Carmel Medical Center following a car-truck accident this afternoon. It happened on North High Street at Shaw. Police say the car crossed over the center line and slammed into the truck. As we said, there are only minor injuries in this accident. Now, let's take a look at 5:35 on a Monday, and let's see how the traffic is moving around Columbus. And we only have 2 accidents to report, as you see there. One at Interstate 71 southbound at Interstate 70, and another one at 4th between 7th and 8th. As far as the freeway traffic at this hour, police tell us it is moving smoothly, and for Monday, that's pretty good. Coming up next at 5:30, will New Year's go on as planned? That is a big question facing one Columbus hotel.
The hotel is the Park Hotel in northern Columbus, and I'm Dave Stanton. Hopefully we'll have some answers for you coming up live on Eyewitness News at 5:30.
Many people will be spending the new year dining and dancing at their favorite restaurant or hotel. But there is a labor problem brewing that could spoil the festivities at one Columbus hotel. And Dave Stanton is live right now at the Park Hotel, that's on Morris Road, where there is some talk tonight of a strike as revelers ring in the new year at the stroke of midnight. Dave, what's the story out there?
Well, you know, Dave, this is the time of year for partying, and Columbus is a party town. About this time, certainly by tomorrow, just about every big party in Columbus will be sold out. That's no exception at the Park Hotel here. They pretty well sold their big bash. They've got a big band, a couple of good things going on here this year, but now there's rumblings that there may be a strike among the employees. Everyone, hotel people, restaurant, bar, help. We got a call today from the union, the Hotel Employees and Restaurant Employees Union, Local 70. The vice president there, Steve Skaggs, told us that the workers here are not happy with the new contract that's been proposed to them. Apparently, he says they voted on it last night and turned it down. Now, negotiations, we're told, are still going on. There's even something set for tomorrow, but he says they're very unhappy, and he's indicating that at midnight they're going to walk out from here tomorrow night. Of course, all your New Year's celebrations start earlier than that, 8 o'clock or so, whatever, but of course, midnight, the big hour for partying and the old lang syne and all that. And with me now is Jack Schaefer, and he's the food and beverage manager for the hotel. As we say, negotiations are still going on, right?
That's correct.
As a matter of fact, your hotel manager, told me it was kind of a surprise when they said they were going out today.
Yes, we're really surprised. We are negotiating right now. And the hotel employees will work through midnight tomorrow night.
Yeah, what if they went off on strike, what would happen? Can you handle the hotel and the partying and everything?
Oh, yes, we have plenty of management staff on hand. Nothing would be disturbed. Everything would go on as normal.
Okay, so the partiers wouldn't notice the difference.
Partiers wouldn't even notice the thing.
But you're hoping for the best and hoping
everything's going to be settled, we hope.
This only affects this one hotel, would it not?
That's correct.
You have some other properties.
We have other properties, yes.
But it's just this one?
Just this one hotel.
Heck of a time to hit you with a strike.
Certainly is.
So hopefully
we'll have it settled, yes.
Shouldn't be any problem for parties. That's the thing we want to emphasize.
Right. Everything is going to be fine. Our party's going to be great. We've got Susie Goldstein in the lounge. We've got Earl Turner in our cocktail lounge, which is Jay Willoughby's. Everything just looks dynamite for us.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we'll know tomorrow. Negotiations are going on tomorrow morning, and then they'll present the contract to the employees sometime in the day, and we'll see if they vote. They'll take a vote again, and we'll see what happens tomorrow, Dave.
Okay, thanks a lot. Dave Stanton live from the Park Hotel. Well, the next 2 weeks might be the only chance for a lot of people in the United States to get a glimpse of Halley's Comet. Experts say starting Tuesday, it'll be visible after the last glow of twilight in the west-southwest above the planet Jupiter. They say people in the northern states might not be able to see it after that because it'll be too low in the horizon. And now let's head to the world of fairy tales and fantasy and just see what's brewing in the Monday edition of the Hollywood Minute.
This is Sandy Kenyon with the Hollywood Minute. Subscribers to the home box office cable service got a surprise on Christmas Eve. HBO ran the first cable screening of last year's hit comedy film Ghostbusters. Although subscribers were happy, the nation's video retailers are not. The film was just released in video stores 2 months ago, and retailers fear cable showings will hurt sales of the tape. Stevie Wonder and Danny Kaye have signed up for guest roles on NBC's hit The Cosby Show. Columnist Marilyn Beck reports Kaye, who will play a dentist, will appear in a Cosby episode next month. Wonder will tape with Cosby in February. Rock singer David Lee Roth is being sued by his personal manager. The singer allegedly failed to pay the complainant his 15%. The matter will be pursued in Los Angeles courts. This is Sandy Kenyon with the Hollywood Minute.
And right now, it's 19 minutes before 6. Stay with us. Up next, Janet Watkins joins us with the weather plus Ed Ross's Medical Matters right after this.
I'm Jerry Revish. Columbus will ring in the new year without the Citizen Journal. Efforts to save the morning paper have failed. How do you feel about Columbus becoming a one-newspaper town? Here's our address. We'll read your answers next week.
If you like a cool December day with lots of sunshine, we had it today. It was a nice day.
Oh,
I really liked it.
It was bright for a change. Maybe we're into a new trend here with some sun on the way. Tomorrow, not too bad temperature-wise, but we do look for some clouds to move in. Before we talk about that, though, let's take a look at temperatures across the country and see what's happening there. Look at Buffalo, New York, 23 there right now, and they are winding up with the snowiest December on record there. We'll have pictures of that at 6 o'clock tonight. 52 degrees right now down in Atlanta and 69 in Miami. Chilly, but nothing that they can't stand across the northern tier of states with 34 degrees right now in Cutbank, Montana. And where's the snow right now? Well, most of it is up in Canada. We do have some blowing and drifting snow across the Dakotas and across northern Minnesota, and nothing happening across Ohio tonight. And we don't expect too much this evening in the way of precipitation, but that could change by tomorrow. As far as the weather tonight is concerned, we will expect increasing clouds moving in out ahead of a weather system that's headed our way. That will affect our weather tomorrow. Temperatures not bad this evening. We'll start out about 34 degrees. That's the temperature outside 10 TV right now. By 8 o'clock tonight, down to 32. By 11, down to about 30. And we'll take a close look at the weather systems moving in at 6 o'clock tonight.
I'm surprised how warm it is in the upper tier of the United States.
No complaints, I don't think.
Okay. Thanks, Janet. We'll see you at 7. Well, it's not unusual for a lot of people to complain about sore throats this time of year, but as Ed Ross reports this evening on Medical Matters, there are some who have more than the so-called average sore throat.
19-year-old Andy Snyder knows what it's like to have a sore throat. His throat had been giving him trouble for quite a while.
Well, I started having reoccurring sore throats about 1.5 years ago. They usually lasted from 2 to 3 days. And so I decided to go to the doctor eventually because it got a little annoying, and he said that I had chronic tonsillitis and that the tonsils needed to come out.
So Andy had his tonsils removed. The tonsils consist of lymph tissue and are the first line of defense against infection. They act as filters which trap invading bacteria and prevent the bacteria from getting into the bloodstream. A tonsil that is infected has in essence been doing its job. However, after repeated infections, the tissue of the tonsil is eventually destroyed, and it's usually recommended that the tonsil come out.
I think there are people that have sore throats who are having sore throats from various different reasons, and the tonsils really aren't the problem. But I think if you have documented tonsillitis, where you see the inflammation and the spots on the tonsils, the obvious toxicity and infection from the tonsillitis, and if the tonsils are chronically enlarged and a patient is having recurrent sore throats, and you observe that the inflammation and the chronic disease is actually in the tonsil area, then that's a different story. And in these instances, the patients do better if they have their tonsils out.
Well, before I felt fatigued all the time and tired because of the sore throats and having trouble sleeping and all, and so I feel a lot more rested now that I've had them out.
Ed Ross, Eyewitness News.
Now, although the procedure for a tonsillectomy is relatively simple, there is still some debate whether children should automatically have their tonsils removed. There are some who suspect that removing the protective function of the tonsils to avoid ordinary sore throats makes one more susceptible to other disorders later on in life. Well, also tonight, when we're talking about medical matters, how about a transplanted back muscle? Some surgeons say rebuilding a heart by using that back muscle stimulated with a pacemaker could lessen the demand for heart transplants and artificial hearts. Dr. Larry Stevenson of the University of Pennsylvania says the muscle could well offer a more viable alternative with more advantages. In fact, a 46-year-old Pennsylvania woman had such an operation and went home in just 5 weeks. Well, there's plenty of use of not only the back muscles, but all of the muscles. In this story we have from the Soviet Union of a Russian strongman.
23 years ago, this man fell over 40 feet from the circus trapeze. He broke both arms, both legs, his collarbone, and his spine. He fractured his skull. It was 5 years before he could take a step. Now he's the strongman in the Moscow State Circus. That brass ball weighs 88 pounds. I know. Today, Valentin Decoul can carry a horse or lift a car. His feats of strength bring gasps from Soviet children of all ages at the Moscow State Circus. And Soviet television has made movies highlighting his prowess. But life has not been easy for Decoul. His father was a KGB man who was killed in 1952, helping to put down an insurrection in the Baltic republics. Decoul was orphaned. After his fall, doctors worked for 3 months just to keep him alive. He later developed his own techniques to overcome paralysis from the waist down. Today, Decoul tries to help others overcome similar misfortunes. He works with young children suffering from crippling diseases, helping them to gain control of their bodies. This youngster is 3 years old and suffers from encephalitis. With DeCool's physical therapy, he has just taken his first steps. This 14-year-old got muscular dystrophy recently. DeCool thinks that with treatment, he may someday walk again. The strong man does not use any drugs, and he is careful not to portray himself as a doctor or a healer. He says he's just a trainer, a coach, a man who, when he sets a goal for himself, never fails. He wants to teach others to do the same.
Up next at 5:30, we'll check out today's top world and national stories and a year-end look at terrorism in 1985. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Time check right now, 5:51, and all this week long on the 5:30 edition of Eyewitness News, we're going to be looking back at the big stories of 1985. And tonight, Dan Revie looks at how terrorism has affected us all.
It was a year of murder, bombings, and hijackings. Much of 1985's terrorism was aimed against Americans. And the United States became angry.
Let me further make it plain to the assassins in Beirut and their accomplices, wherever they may be, that America will never make concessions to terrorists.
The Shiite Muslim gunmen held 39 Americans for 17 days. They killed one passenger, U.S. Navy diver Robert Steedham, and they got away with it.
I'm especially, I guess, intrigued by is the ability of a comparatively small force, a few people in some cases, under the right conditions, with the electronic marvels of television, to paralyze the United States.
And the U.S. felt paralyzed again when an Italian cruise liner in the Mediterranean, the Achille Lauro, was seized by Palestinian gunmen. Again, the terrorists singled out Americans. 69-year-old Leon Klinghoffer was murdered. Egypt made a deal to let the hijackers go, but the U.S. had it with frustration and intercepted the Egyptian airliner. The hijackers are imprisoned in Italy. In November, Arab gunmen seized, ironically, that same Egyptian plane, forcing it to Malta, and cruelly shot American and Israeli passengers. Scarlett Rogenkamp, a young Californian, was murdered. Egypt sent in its special forces. The terrorists threw grenades, and in all 60 people died. An unsuccessful rescue raid, still applauded by the U.S. and other governments.
These are not just random events like earthquakes or hurricanes. The terrorists have motives. Radical Palestinians, such as Abu Nidal, want to stop the PLO, Egypt, and Jordan from talking peace in the Middle East.
In Lebanon, the so-called Islamic Jihad, or Holy War, released the Reverend Benjamin Weir, but still holds 6 other American hostages.
Tragically, this warfare is there to stay. It is a permanent feature of international life well into the 21st century.
So far, Americans abroad make easier targets. 3 killed, many more wounded in attacks on U.S. military facilities in West Germany this year. Terrorism once seemed a faraway problem, but looking back on 1985, Americans may wonder when it will strike closer to home. Dan Raviv, CBS News, London.
Also, I'd like to remind you tonight right here on 10 TV at 9:30, we will take a look at our local year-end review on a year of discovery put together by the Eyewitness News team and producers and writers. Well, now it's time to take a look at some of the other stories making news around the country and the world today. An 11-year-old girl killed by terrorists at the Rome airport was buried today in that city. Natasha Simpson, the daughter of an Associated Press editor living in Rome, was the youngest victim of the attack. And a Roman schoolgirl eulogized her schoolmate, and we quote, "You are my best friend, and I will miss you." For 6 years, Heli Frejus and her husband have been fighting with the Soviet Union. They want the Soviets to allow Mrs. Frejus to join her American husband in the United States. Well, just before the summit, the Soviets cleared 10 people to emigrate to the United States to be with relatives, and Mrs. Frejus is the first to arrive. A New Jersey train crashed into a concrete bank, leaving more than 30 people injured today. The bank was the end of the line of Hoboken Station. A passenger said people were flying everywhere. There were no serious injuries, although some people did have broken bones. More news later coming up. Those stories, Charles Carroll sitting in for Dan Rather tonight on the CBS Evening News. And looking ahead to what's in the works for the 6 and 7 o'clock editions of Eyewitness News, we have these stories.
The CJ Newsroom is busy writing its own obituary. I'm John Damschroeder. I'll have that story coming up on the 6 o'clock edition of Eyewitness News.
Over the overall period of 10 years, I think we're going to have an underground railway from continent to continent.
Now, that's just one of the predictions from one psychic about what will happen in 1986. We'll have more on what the future has in store for us tonight at 7 o'clock. But don't go away. Up next, remember that flexible green doll that you used to play with as a kid? Well, that green doll is Gumby, and he's making a comeback. We'll have that story right after this. Don't go away. Yeah, remember him? Cute little fellow, right? He's a little green guy that many of us probably played with as a kid. Well, for a while, Gumby fell into obscurity. Nobody knew where he was. But now, as you're about to see, Gumby is as hot as a Cabbage Patch doll.
He is Gumby, and over the course of 3 decades, he has risen from a slab of blue-green clay to a superstar. He is perhaps one of the most flexible actors of our time, whether it be westerns.
I know one thing, Ricochet. You get out of town now.
Science fiction.
Get ready to land.
Or even an historical piece like Washington's Crossing of the Delaware.
Gumby, can you contact our spy?
Gumby has shown an ability to capture the American imagination. He has even dabbled in directing. His creator is Art Clokey.
I told my children stories at night before they went to sleep and transposed some of those stories into Gumby stories, and that sort of spirit carried over the affection I had for my children.
Clokey traces Gumby's roots of origin to Gumbasia. Clokey first experimented with claymation, using animated clay forms and setting them to jazz music. That was 30 years ago. In the 80s, Gumby has bounced back. On home video, in dolls, and this watch, 200,000 were sold this Christmas. The Gumby boom is partially due to Eddie Murphy's comical portrayal of Gumby on Saturday Night Live.
Act for me. Make magic. You're beautiful. Thank you, Mr. Gumby. Rolling!
Soon a whole nation began to pay tribute to a long-lost green friend. People magazine.
In the 1950s, a clay figure came into the world of children's television.
National talk shows, and even parades. Clokey recently turned down numerous offers to make Gumby into a cartoon.
I just couldn't. It would be a betrayal to make Gumby into a flat cartoon drawing.
So instead, he made a movie to be released in 1986.
Well, that's the 5:30 edition for this Monday. Thank you for having us in for news. Keep it where it is. The 6 o'clock edition is next. And a reminder, tomorrow there will be no 5:30 edition because of the college football game. I believe it's the Peach Bowl with Army in Illinois. Now here's the 6 o'clock.